Coming in at number 10, we have reptilian shapeshifters. This has to be one of the most bizarre and talked about conspiracy theories out there. If you don't know, I will give you guys a quick rundown. Former sportscaster David Icke decided one day that he was done telling people what the score of last night's footy game was and wanted to warn the world about reptilian aliens that have come from another dimension and have infiltrated every level of elite infrastructure that we have. These shapeshifters are called Anunnaki, and everyone from Kanye West to the Pope to Bill Clinton is one of them. They want nothing more than to steal your life force and see all of us suffer so they can feed off our suffering or something like that. I'm not really sure what it is. If you want some more details on this, you should check out one of the many insane books that David Icke has written on the matter. He claims that he has seen these shapeshifters shift shapes on live television, but it doesn't seem that he has any sort of plan to stop them other than don't use 5G networks. I mean, if you're going to be the guy who tells us all the problems, you got to bring in a few solutions. We need doers, not complainers. Coming in at number 9, we have immortals. If lizard people in all major industries weren't enough for you, how about immortals? At least immortals aren't inherently evil, but it's still spooky to think that someone can live forever, because it begs the question, how do they live forever? Is there some sort of ritual or spell that they have to follow? Do they drink the blood of virgins? Or maybe she's born with it, maybe she's Maybelline. But the talk of famous and rich people accessing the fountain of youth has been talked about for centuries. It has most recently been spoken about when people bring up side-by-side pictures of people like Keanu Reeves and Conan O'Brien with their ancient doppelgangers. So what do you think at home? Do you think there are rich and famous people who have found a way to never die and will walk the earth until the sun explodes and our solar system ceases to exist? Or do you think the chances of finding someone who looks like you are pretty high because it happens all the time? There's a bunch of you at home who are watching this who know someone who looks like me. He's Lenny Kravitz. Coming at number 8, we have Veronica Cedar. I feel like if you were born with superpowers, it would make your life so much simpler because you wouldn't have to make any career choices or wonder about what your place is in the world. You would have two options: become a hero or become a villain. Well, that's at least how I see it in my head. If I wanted real answers, I should just go ask Veronica Cedar. Now, Veronica didn't have the coolest superpower ever, but she still had something that was better than nothing. She could see 20 times better than the average person. Like, she could see people from miles away. She could pick up individual markings on buildings that most people couldn't see at all. Now, the question is, did this ability make her life more simple, more complicated, or did it not change anything at all? Coming in at number 7, we have virtual reality. This seems like something that should be the natural progression of technology. We should eventually be able to create worlds inside goggles so that people can abandon their boring lives and venture deep into wondrous worlds that may be more fulfilling than living in the real world. But a digital world that you can slap onto your face that is so real it could be indistinguishable from real life sounds like something pulled right out of the SCP Foundation. Even though we are not at that stage yet where we have VR goggles and software so perfect it can replace real life, we are probably going to get there within our lifetime. Also, the progress into VR tech has manifested the question of whether or not we are currently in a simulation and everything is fake. And if this is indeed a simulation, I would like to know what the cheat codes are because I want an upgrade for my life. This Corona DLC that has been updated into the world has not been my favorite. Next time, let's get something that gives me superpowers. Coming in at number 6, we have the asp caterpillar. This crazy critter has worked its way onto this list for 2 reasons. The first being that it has a very strange plume of hair that surrounds it. This bug looks like it was pulled right off your favorite anime character's head and then was given life by another anime character. And the second reason that I've chosen this insect to don the number 6 spot is the fact that it is extremely venomous. This thing won't kill you, but the spines that are hidden in its cool hairdo will send some pain through your body that will give childbirth a run for its money. Coming in at number 5, we have the Voynich manuscripts. An old text that no one can figure out is the perfect thing for the SCP Foundation. The Voynich manuscript is a codex that has some lovely drawings of plants on it that no one has ever seen before, and it's in a language that no one has ever seen before, and it's all locked away in a code that no one has ever been able to get to the bottom of. There are a few theories as to what could be going on with this. Some say that it could be the work of a dark wizard who hid his spells away in a secret language. Others say this could be an alien text, and some say it's all crap. Coming in at number 4, we have ghosts and demons. Are they real? Are they not? Who knows, but enough people believe in them to have everyone freaked out. I think we all have a friend who is convinced that ghosts are real, who swears that they have encountered them. There's also countless stories of people being possessed by spirits. The movie The Exorcist is based on a real possession story, and sometimes at night it can feel like someone is lingering close to you even though it seems seems like no one is around you. Well, let's just hope if ghosts and demons are real, they only like to be cool and do cool things, and they don't want to harvest our souls for their own enjoyment. At number 3, we have artificial intelligence. Now, AI is still at the starting stages. We can create AI to do simple tasks like recognize faces or sort information. It's nowhere close to the self-teaching, all-knowing, dangerous God state that everyone is afraid of. But you have to admit that AI is the exact kind of thing that would be logged away in the SCP Foundation. And there has been some signs of intelligence coming through artificial intelligence systems. Some eggheads over at Facebook decided they wanted to see what would happen if 2 separate AIs could talk to each other, and they quickly developed their own language that communicated way faster and way more efficiently than any known human language. So if we do get to the point where AI is running loose, just know that we won't stand a chance. Coming in at number 2, we have DMT, probably the most intense psychoactive drug on the planet, and the crazy thing is that it's something that naturally produces in your brain. DMT, also known as dimethyltryptamine, is a chemical that is found in all plants, animals, and living things on the planet. It is produced in a pure form right inside your brain and released in large doses when you're born, when you die, and released in small doses when you dream. People have found a way to consume DMT through 2 different methods. Either through an ayahuasca ceremony where people drink ayahuasca tea that can make you hallucinate for up to 12 hours or more depending on the dosage, or there's also when people smoke the pure form of the drug, which gives you a hyper-intense blast for about 5 minutes. People who experience this drug say there is an overall feeling of being transported to another world and they lose all connection with their physical body. Some say that you can use this drug to communicate with the 5th dimension. And if that is true, the SCP Foundation would be all over this interdimensional communication tool. And coming in at the number 1 spot, we have Wim Hof, probably one of the coolest people that you have never heard of. Wim Hof is someone that everyone should be researching because he might be the closest thing to a real-life superhero, and he can teach his powers to you. Wim Hof is also known as the Iceman, and through a meditative breathing practice, he is able to withstand freezing temperatures for an indefinite amount of time. He climbed 24,000 feet up Everest in shorts and sandals. He set the world record for the longest underwater ice swim, where his retinas froze and he had to feel his way out of the exit. He did a long-distance polar ice run barefoot, where his only clothes were shorts. He had to stop halfway because his feet were destroyed with frostbite. The doctors that were accompanying him told him that he would lose both his feet. He laughed, went into a tent, meditated for a few hours, and came out with his feet completely healed, and then continued his run. He has taught other people this breathing technique to master the control of your body. So not only is this guy unlocking human abilities that have never been seen before, he's also sharing them with people. You can literally become a superhero and no one's talking about it. If the SCP Foundation was real, they would be all over this guy.
Starting us off with number 10 are the ash bullets. This was from a native Navajo who was coming back from the Navajo Nation fair with his family and grandmother. How many times am I gonna say Navajo in this video, I swear? The conversation somehow got into Skinwalkers, but his grandma shut it down pretty quickly. That night, as he was just in bed, he heard something moving outside his house. Thinking it was a stray dog or something, he didn't think much of it, but then he heard the loudest distorted scream, shat himself, then ran downstairs and woke up his mum. They looked outside the window and saw this coyote thing limping towards the door, dragging his right leg as he did. It started scratching at the door and moaning, and all his parents could do was shout words in Navajo at it, telling it wasn't welcome there. At this point, everyone in the house was awake and panicked, but his granddad knew exactly what to do. He went and got a handgun from a drawer and a bag of ashes. I don't know where he got this bag of ashes from, but he did. And he coated the bullets in it and loaded the gun. He went to the door shouting Navajo words and then opened the door and fired twice, but the thing escaped unscathed. His granddad turned around and said, "That's the fastest one I've ever seen." So he's a pro veteran at this, clearly. It was about 4 AM by the time everyone actually calmed down, and the family actually went to a medicine man the next day to be blessed against the Skinwalker.
Number 9. Demon Cat. Good old Demon Cat. Making its home in Washington, D.C., this fiendish feline is known to stalk the White House and the United States Capitol building. Supposedly in the 1800s, cats were brought to the Capitol building as a means of combating the rat problem. And while they couldn't get all the politicians, some legends claim that one cat remained stalking the basements. It can only be seen prior to elections and other tragedies in Washington, supposedly having been seen before the assassinations of JFK and Lincoln. Why has this kitty stuck itself in the minds of those who have seen it? Well, apparently when spotted, this cat actually grows to massive proportions, leaping at its viewer before just vanishing. Now, some blame the Capitol Police Force's poor screening for alcoholics at the source of this misunderstanding, as when viewed from the floor, anything might appear large. But as one guard was apparently taken by a heart attack upon seeing the categorical size of such the beast, who can really say for sure?
At number 8 we have the lookalikes. This one's from Redditor JibbyJam1, who was in New Mexico exploring some old Spanish ruins with some friends. While they were at one of the sites at night, they suddenly heard an angry, ear-piercing, blood-curdling scream which prompted them to want to get the hell out of there. They went back to their camp, and a while later the user went for a piss about 300 meters from the camp, and this is where things got weird. He remembered seeing 2 dust devils coming towards him, but when he turned around it was just 2 of his friends who were motioning him to follow them, which he did almost like he was being sucked into doing so. He followed his friends for like 10-15 minutes, but as he was snapping back to reality he realized these weren't his friends at all. His friends had bright red hair, and these 2 people's faces were identical to his friends', but they both had cat-like eyes and were brunette. He stopped in his tracks and they turned to look at him as if they were about to kill him on the spot. He ran in a full sprint back to the camp where his friends hadn't even realized he was gone. Great friends you have, by the way. And he told them what had happened, and they packed the hell up and drove back to Albuquerque. Filling our number 7 slot is the delivery trip. This one's from Reddit user Neptune420, whose dad ran a small delivery service in Farmington, New Mexico. One day they got a delivery for Window Rock, Arizona on the Navajo reservation, and the dad decided to take his Navajo friend Travis and his girlfriend with him as they wanted to see some family there. So they took 2 separate trucks and had walkie-talkies with them so they could communicate between vehicles. The trip and delivery went fine, they had a great day, but then on their way back, that was when things really took a turn for the worst. They're driving towards a hill, and as they crest it, the dad sees what he thinks is a giant dog sitting on its haunches in the middle of the road facing away from them. He walkies his friend Travis in the other car, asking if he sees the dog, to which Travis replies, "That is not a dog, speed up right now and hit it." Hysterically he went on and said, "Hit it JJ, you have to hit it, please hit that thing right now." So the dad speeds up, and as they get closer they see the dog's matted hair seems to have dried blood all over it, and just before they hit it, it turned around to reveal that it had a face. The face was a hybrid between a bear and a human, but it looked distorted and in pain, and as soon as they hit it, it screamed like it was drowning and then ran into the nearby field. They saw a cop a little while later, and Travis made them pull over and was completely on edge when he told the officer that they saw Skinwalker a few miles back and it had been following them. The officer, who was Navajo himself, turned white, stammered something unintelligible, and then got into his car and left. Very helpful. But what I took away from this story is the fact that the dad, no questions asked, just hit this thing. Like, he didn't even question Travis, like, oh, why should I hit that dog? He just went from 0 to 100 real quick, fast and furious real quick. Now at number 6 is the walking coyote. Now this one's from Redditor Endelos, who said during the early 80s her sister was on the way back from a friend's at night when her car broke down. Thankfully she broke down in front of a family friend's house, so she went in and called her dad and he came to get her. They were driving back at around 10 PM and were passing a heavily wooded area when out of nowhere they hear an incredibly loud inhuman scream. The user's dad hit the brakes just in time to see a 6-foot-tall coyote with a black and white striped tail walking on just 2 legs. Thankfully I don't think the sister or dad were its true targets because it disappeared quite quickly after that, but then they heard the same scream again, only 10 times louder than the first time. This time the dad didn't brake, he accelerated out of that situation ASAP. Coming in at number 5 is the Running Man. This one's from Brent Swanset, and funnily enough it also took place near Window Rock, Arizona. He was driving on the highway at night when he saw what seemed to be a large coyote sitting in the middle of the road. He slowed down so he wouldn't hit it, unlike that other user's dad, and he found that the coyote wasn't scared of the car at all. It didn't even move a muscle when Brent honked at it, so he just decided to save himself the trouble and drive around it. As he drove away, his dad turned to him and went, "Would you look at that?" and he was referring to the coyote who was now chasing behind the car. The coyote then matched the speed of the car running right alongside it, and then out of nowhere the coyote becomes a naked running man. Still keeping pace with the car, mind you. The man started slapping the car while having the creepiest grin on his face. Like, I can just imagine that, and I just don't want to imagine it anymore. At this point, they're going like 50 miles per hour, but he's still there. To end his pursuit, the man let out a loud wail and then swerved away. Either way, Brent and his dad were terrified, and I would have been too, but for some reason, I really can't shake the image that this naked man looked like the guy who plays Aquaman. I don't know why, it's just in my head. At number 4 is the party. This one's from Redditor Trey_Lightning, who said that anytime his mum would take him to her hometown on the reservation, she'd always tell him a Skinwalker story. But this particular one was told to him by his aunt. Now back in the day, his aunt and her friends used to party a lot, and one day they got in a van, drove out to the boondocks and just drank. A bit after sunset, everyone was laughing and in good spirits when they heard what sounded like rocks being thrown at the van. The sound stopped, but then an even bigger sound followed, and they quickly realized someone or something had just jumped onto the roof of the van. They lock all the doors, and his aunt is in the driver's seat trying to start the engine, but obviously it doesn't start, like in every horror movie ever. Such timely engine failure, I swear. But anyway, the thing on the roof is still banging on the van, and then his aunt sees a hand with the long nails reach over the roof and start scratching the windshield. Then it jumps off and walks up to her window and just stares at her. And his poor little aunt at this point is just praying for her life, but then after a few minutes of panicking, screaming and staring, the thing leaves them and the van finally starts, miraculously bang on time, and they leave. Filling our number 3 slot is the white powder. This one comes from an anonymous Navajo woman living in Shiprock, New Mexico. She said during one of her visits home, she heard her dogs relentlessly barking at something outside, and then she heard a loud thud above her on the roof. Her sisters got quite scared, and her parents assured her it was just a dog or a cat and just to go to sleep. Parents really need to stop telling us it's just a cat or a dog, because clearly, as we've seen, it's not. But anyway, the dogs were continually barking and running back and forth, and then she had a metal pole hit one of the dogs, and she knew it was a pole because her sister had put it on the roof the day before. She tried to get up but fell into a deep sleep, and the last thing she heard were human footsteps on the roof. The next day, there was nothing suspicious on the roof or around, but her cousin did complain about her head hurting, and the next day she straight up died, just like that. They brought a medicine man to conduct a ceremony, and he said that 2 of you know exactly what happened. He went on to say it was a man in bare skin on the roof of the house, and he was using a hummingbird as a lookout and a helper, and he blew white powder onto the woman's cousin, which is why she died, but that was also the reason why everyone in the house fell into a deep sleep that night. The ceremony went on, and the woman later found out that the powder used was crushed human bones taken from graveyards, as if the story wasn't screwed up enough. Now at number 2 is the herd. This one's also from Redditor Navajo Joe, which is quite fitting, I guess, but when he was a kid, him and his uncle were on their way back from chopping and gathering firewood. They were going slow on this dirt road, and Joe just had this feeling he was being watched, and he was about to look out his window when his uncle shouted, "Don't." He then heard 3 taps on his window as his heart literally felt like it had stopped beating. His uncle started praying and going faster, and he thought all was okay, but then the truck dipped from the bed. At this point, his uncle just kept saying, "Look at me, don't turn away, just look at me please," and he heard the tapping again. Joe was now crying at this point as the truck dipped for the 2nd and 3rd time. Finally, his uncle gave a sigh of relief and said they'd both need prayers in the morning so the evil would forget their faces. When they got home, Joe called his uncle a while later because he had had a nightmare. His uncle said he didn't see any faces, just eyes, like they were just lights on the road. Joe asked him why he didn't just slam on the brakes when it was in the back, and his uncle replied saying because it wasn't alone. When I read that the first time, it legit just gave me shivers. Like, how can you end a story like that because it wasn't alone? That's a great. And finally, at number 1 is The Thing. So this one again is from Joe, and he lived on the reservation when the story took place. He was home with his 2 brothers and dogs one night when they started making a lot of noise outside. People, you have to trust your dogs when they're barking at stuff outside. It's probably a Skinwalker. In the middle of the night, Joe and his brother woke up because the barking started again. He went outside and saw that one of the dogs was just losing it near the truck. When he looked there was a really tall man there looking at the dog and then kicking hugging it. When it looked up, it had a pure white face, a pure black smile, and red burning eyes. It came to him and towered over him, and all Joe could see was a deep red. Things are clearly not going well at this point. His brother finally came out of the house not knowing what was going on, and at this stage the thing's hands were inches away from Joe's head. From what he could recall, its skin was black and it smelled like a bloated dead animal, and he was just stood there unable to move or speak. The Skinwalker let him be and went for his brother instead, which is what finally broke Joe out of this trance and made him really angry. He started baring his teeth at it and growling in a way he didn't even know he could do. He kept roaring at it while it smiled back at him, and his smile faded the angrier Joe got, and then he just ran away into the night. That's it. No murder, no clawing at the face, just ran away into the night.
First up at number 10, the Sasquatch. You know I had to add this one in there. It's tall, it's hairy, and nearly everyone and their neighbor claims to have witnessed the creature walking through the woods of North America. Dating back further than recorded history, this man-like ape, also commonly known as Bigfoot, is a household legend with nearly 10,000 recorded sightings throughout the United States. I mean, just a quick search and you'll literally find hundreds of photos and articles aiming to prove Bigfoot's existence. Arguably, the most famous evidence we have is Roger Patterson and Bob Gimlin's 1967 film where the alleged creature is seen walking along the side of a creek in plain day. And though we still don't know if the authenticity of the photo stacks up, we've also never been truly able to debunk it entirely. Throughout the many stories of alleged sightings, including some saying they were captured and held captive by the creature, and others claiming to have spotted the Sasquatch roaming around the woods, many scientists still attribute the sightings to either hoaxes or misidentification of known animals, usually black bears. But what do you think? Are you a believer in Bigfoot, or do you think it's all just one big lie?
In our number 9 spot today we have Tokoloshe. This creature originated in South Africa and it appears in Zulu mythology. It is said that this creature is quite short, but very frightening. What it lacks in height, it makes up for in a vertical better than Michael Jordan in his prime. Legend has it that this creature likes to jump on people's chests at night while they are sleeping so that it can steal their breath away. Aside from the whole jumping thing, it is said that this creature is also quite fast, and one random fact is that it apparently loves curdled milk, which is disgusting. So while he's stealing your breath, I guess you just have to sit there smelling his hot milk breath. 0 out of 10 trade-off. There is a way to protect yourself against him, and that is by putting your bed on high bricks. This is because if the bed is raised too high, then this malevolent being won't be able to jump up on your chest to complete its breath-stealing work.
Coming in at number 8, we have the Canadian folklore monster, the Ogopogo. If you grew up in the Okanagan Valley of British Columbia, I'm sure you heard a story or two about this mythological sea creature. But could it be that there's more to the Ogopogo than we thought? The myth dates back thousands of years, with Salish indigenous people having passed along the stories about a spirit in the lake, which turned into what we now call the Ogopogo once the white settlers landed and began altering the stories. Described as a serpentine creature with smooth-like skin and a length of up to 50 feet, it's said to move at incredible speeds, using its powerful tail as a propeller to speed through the lake. The first alleged sighting dates back to 1872 by a woman named Susan Allison, who was the first white settler to live in the region, but she's not been the only one to come forward with the so-called evidence. In the 1980s, a tourist agency offered a cash reward for anyone with proof of the beast, and many flocked with pictures and videos trying to claim the reward. Then later in 2008, a photographer by the name of Sean Valoria captured several photos of something peculiar he saw in the water, which he described as having humps and measuring 18 to 20 feet long. After inspection by many local experts, they did confirm that it didn't look anything like a known animal in the lake, which definitely raised a few eyebrows. Although there wasn't enough evidence to confirm the existence of the Ogopogos, from Sean's photo, the fact that there have been hundreds of people over the years coming forward with evidence to prove the legend speaks for itself. I mean, is it really out there? Well, no one's been able to provide enough hard proof. That doesn't mean the BC locals will stop trying anytime soon.
In our number 7 spot today we have the Banshee. The Banshee is Ireland's most well-known dark spirit that roams around the countryside wailing when death is near. The good news about this one is that she does not cause death, but rather her presence is said to foreshadow the arrival of death. She often appears as a woman with long flowing hair wearing a green dress with a grey cloak over top, and with eyes that are red for her continuous weeping. There are some, however, who have said she appears as an old woman with dirty, rotting teeth and long fingernails. There is not just one Banshee, however, so it makes sense that there are different appearances. Not all Banshees are evil or hate-filled. There are some who just have strong ties to their family and a desire to continue looking over them. The evil ones, however, are wailing as a form of celebration that the death is about to come. It is said that the wailing of a Banshee may only be able to be heard by the person for whom it is intended. So if you hear this call, I truly hope that you have one of the good ones.
Next up at our number 6 spot is the bunyip, with origins from indigenous Australian folklore dating back to 1812. This monster is said to lurk in the swamps and lagoons while waiting for its human prey to pass so it can pounce. The name bunyip roughly translates to the devil or evil spirit and was certainly viewed as such by locals of the time. These terrifying monsters are most often described as being seal-like and measuring 4 to 6 feet long with a shaggy dark coat and possessing a loud roar that's heard before their vicious attack. In the early 1800s, an English convict, William Buckley, escaped a penal colony and found himself living with the local indigenous people, for which he later wrote a biography detailing his life. In 1852, Buckley wrote that he saw the bunyip while living among the Aboriginal people, and according to his account, the bunyip was an extraordinary amphibious animal with grey feathers covering its back and devoured a woman from his community. As legend states, they apparently preferred women for their prey. Throughout the 1800s, many discovered unusual bones and fossils at the site of swamps and lagoons, only piquing curiosity of this tale further. Then in 1846, one particular obscure skull was put on display at the Australian Museum for 2 days, at which time hundreds of alleged bunyip sightings came out of the woodworks, including a group of men who claimed to have seen a stranger disappear while they were on a boat only a yard away from them. So what do you say? Are you feeling brave enough to test out the swamps of Australia to find out for yourself?
In our number 5 spot today, we have La Llorona. The weeping woman is actually named Maria, and she is from Mexico. She has long black hair and is known for her greedy heart. When she was alive, the man she loved would not love her back, and the legend says that because of this, she did some very horrible things. Realizing the terrible things she did in her fit of rage, she ended up throwing herself into the ocean. After her passing, because of her sins, heaven would not allow her in, and instead she was condemned to wander the world in eternal grief. When people see her, she is usually walking, wearing all white and soaking wet. Legend says that sometimes she snatches people up as she mistakes them for her own children. It is said that she can be summoned by going into the bathroom, turning all of the lights out, and splashing water on the mirror before you say her name 3 times. Try it if you dare.
Coming in at number 4, the Kraken. The subject of many a superstitious sailor, this creature originated from Scandinavian folklore and is depicted as an aggressive, cephalopod-like creature capable of destroying entire ships and dragging sailors to their doom. Legends say the creature could devour a whole ship and its crew in its entirety, and if that didn't work, it would swim round the ship in circles to create a whirlpool, sucking the ship down into the deep, dark depths of the sea. Though it seems like a death sentence, many sailors would take the risk and approach the beast, as it said huge schools of fish would surround the creature, and I guess they wanted to take their chances. In 18th century, scientists linked this myth to reality by including the Kraken among the cephalopod mollusks in the first edition of Systema Naturae, and it would only be further linked to reality when in 1853 a giant cephalopod was found stranded on a Norwegian beach. After 150 years of research into giant squids and octopi, it's still unclear whether the legend of the Kraken, as is told, was entirely true, but we know for certain that giant squids swim among us every day. And I mean, what do we really know about what lies deep, deep down in the depths of the ocean?
In our number 3 spot today, we have the Papobawa. This evil creature is found stalking the Tanzanian island of Pemba and is one of those creepy beings that has the ability to shapeshift. Sometimes seen as a bat and sometimes seen in human form, the creature prefers to come out at night and anyone is a target, although it definitely prefers men. The legend of the Papobawa has had people on the island scared since the origins of the story, especially a few years ago when there was actually a real life string of attacks on men in the area, which were being tied to this demon. The important part of this one is that those who encounter the evil creature must tell others and spread the word. If they fail to do this, the papabawa will continue to attack, and we all know that that is just not good. During times when people are worried about being attacked by this creature, many people can be seen sitting outside of their homes at night, often huddled around an open fire with their friends and family, as when people are in their homes sleeping is when the creature most likes to attack.
In the number 2 spot, we have the truly terrifying Chupacabra. Derived mainly from Puerto Rico and Mexico, the Chupacabra literally translates to goat sucker. This mythical legend is reported to attack and drink the blood of livestock. Oddly, it seems like no one can land on a unifying description, with many in Puerto Rico saying it resembles a more reptilian-like creature the size of a small bear with prominent spines from head to tail. Others alleged sightings from the southwest United States have depicted it as more dog-like. The legend began back in 1975 when a small Puerto Rican town by the name of Mocha experienced a devastating loss of their town livestock, finding them drained of their blood by several small circular incisions. Originally, the town suspected the horrors to be linked to a satanic cult, but a few years later in 1995, another 8 sheep were found to have the same fate. To make matters worse, a few months later, a woman named Madeline Tolentino claims to have witnessed the creature, where it would later be found that another 150 farm animals and pets were reportedly killed. With these animals dropping left, right, and center, it's no wonder locals started suspecting the culprit to be the legendary Chupacabra. But what say you? A satanic cult or the work of a blood-sucking creature?
In our number 1 spot today, we have La Siguapa. The legend of the Siguapa comes from the Dominican Republic, and it is a group of small feral women who inhabit the mountainous areas. They wait in the shadows, lurking around, waiting to capture lonely men. They have extremely long hair that covers their small, thin bodies, and they also have dark blue skin and backwards feet. They are nocturnal creatures, and because of their feet, it is hard to track exactly which way they are going, if tracking their footprints. Not only do they capture the men in order to take their lives, but it is also said that if you look one in the eye, you'll be bewitched. Legend says that the only way to defeat one of these creatures is to capture them by tracking them at night, during a full moon, and with a black and white dog with an extra toe. That is definitely one of the most specific things I've ever heard, but that is what the legend says, and I'm not trying to take any kind of chances here.
Number 10. Mothman. So the Mothman is this big old flying dude with wings and red eyes. Floats around and you know what? Boo! Mothman sucks. Look, okay, I grew up in the area where this cryptid is supposedly like haunted, and you know what? Yeah, I did see him. You know, big old spooky red eyes flying around doing whatever. Oh no, he was near a bridge when it collapsed. He precipitated disaster. The only thing that actually happened to me when I saw him was just my house flooded, I failed on my final test, and my girlfriend broke up with me. I mean, who even cares, right? God, Mothman is such a loser. Oh, I'm a big scary moth. Look at me. Oh, I'm mothing it up. No, I'm not better. Shut up.
Coming in at number 9 is The Chase. So this was from a cop called J.G. Buckland, and he recalled how he was once working the night shift at a hotel in New Mexico. He was patrolling the hotel in his car when he decided to take a nap, just what I like to hear from the cop. A bit after 2 AM, something hit the bottom of his car so hard it actually swayed. Mind you, this was a 1978 Thunderbird, so it was a big, heavy car. I mean, it's not easy to make it move. J.G. woke up and drove forward and saw there was a dog sort of thing sitting where his car had been, but as he started looking at it, he felt like he was drowning in this dark energy and that this thing was just pure evil. The face of the dog had human features, mostly the eyes, but it didn't have a snout nose. That bit also looked more human, and it wasn't black tipped like a dog's nose. Size wise, it was slightly bigger than an adult German Shepherd, which are pretty big in and of itself. With this in mind, JG decided to hit the dog with his car, but it ran off the property but then back onto the property, so he started driving after it. It made its way into a third parking lot and then into a weedy area, and at this point JG was chasing it on foot with his gun. It came up and threw him aside like he was made of air and then ran away. This thing ran into the weedy area on 4 legs and exited on 2, so the dog was now a nude man that was screaming as it left, and after that encounter, JG had such bad luck, health problems, etc. after this, so he actually went to a shaman to get cleansed from this experience. and I want to be cleansed from telling the story.
Number 8. Sewer alligators. Taking a big ol' bite out of the big ol' apple are our guys in green, the sewer gators. According to the New York Times, there's actually a massive problem with folks trying to keep alligators as pets within the city. But as for the ones that aren't caught, what might happen to their pets once they've outgrown their owners? Now, legend has it that in the 1930s an infestation began, gators making their home within New York's stinky subsystems. Supposedly, they've clashed with the NYPD, who claimed to have vanished their bescaled opponents, though sightings have continued throughout the modern days. Likely their greatest impact was the inspiration for the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, though I might just be making that up. Number 7. The Honey Island Swamp Monster. Better known as Le Bête Noire, this humanoid horror is reported to be located within the Honey Island Swamp in Louisiana. Described as walking on 2 legs and 7 feet tall, Le Bête Noire is reported to be preceded by a foul odor. Now, casts have been taken of its feet, showing a total of 4 toes, which indicates that it may not be related to humans or apes, as some legends claim that a crashed circus train may have allowed for a band of chimpanzees to escape into the wild, where they probably adapted to their environment and fell into legend. Knowing how circuses generally treat their animals, good for them. Number 6. Lava bear. Discovered in the area surrounding South Central Oregon, the lava bears are a group of extremely small bears that have been observed emerging from the lava beds common to the area. Several hunters have claimed to have caught these ferocious beasts, which initially appeared to be bear cubs but were in fact fully grown adults. Once news of this made rounds, the hunt for the bears was on, and in 1923, one was caught by a US Forest Service trapper by the name of Alfred Andrews. Andrews was offered a reward for the bear's body, but turned it down in favor of parading it around the country, making quite a chunk of change on the side, until his partner stole the bear and vanished. Several other bears have been captured, and in 1924, one of the local high schools decided that its mascot would become the lava bear. It is also still their mascot. Seriously. Number 5. The black dog. Yeah, I put this in here to contrast the demon cat because I, think they should be friends. The black dog is a demonic creature originating in Europe, most famously in the story The Hound of the Baskervilles, but it's also been cited in the States. A beast with burning red eyes, W.H.C. Pynchon wrote, "If you meet the black dog once, it shall be for joy. If twice, it shall be for sorrow, and the 3rd time shall bring death." Demonic dogs have been spotted in Connecticut and Massachusetts, and truckers have a saying where if you see one, it's time to pull over or a crash will be the least of your concerns. Number 4. Ludwig the Bloodsucker. Back to New York, and it turns out that gators aren't the only things looking to take a bite out of streetwalkers. Described as a 3-foot-tall German man, Ludwig the Bloodsucker is reported to be a local vampire. Now, legends claim that he was too minute to take down a German man and too ugly to seduce a German woman, so he just booked it over to the States for easier pickings. Haunting the Bowery Street, several victims were left alive but incessantly mocked by the vampire, usually for their drunken stupor. Local newspapers reported about the man's habits, locating him as a German tailor by day. There are apparently even interviews where he goes on record to claim that blood is healthy and good eating. Mixed with the way that immigrants were treated at the time, I doubt that went over well. Number 3. Two-Toed Tom. Listen, there's a lot of gators in the States, but Two-Toed Tom might be the most famous. The story goes that this 14-foot alligator could be identified for having lost all but 2 toes to a trap, and would eat farmers and their livestock. Now, fed up with the beast, many brave men would band together to hunt the reptile, but whether it was ex-military marksmen or dynamite-brandishing pharmacists, none could destroy this devil. Bored with Alabama, the gator was reported to have left its hunting grounds, apparently settling for Florida, where there would be more failed attempts to take down Two-Toes. 50 years later, a series of two-toed tracks were discovered near his old hunting ground, and the legend of Two-Toed Tom marches on. Number 2. Hodag. Now, this strange creature made its home in Wisconsin, described as possessing the head of a frog, the face of an elephant, short legs with massive claws, the back of a dinosaur, and a long spiked tail. Reported by land surveyor and trusted member of the community Eugene Shepard, he rounded up a group of brave brave hunters to capture the beast, an attempt which apparently required the usage of dynamite. Sending a picture of its remains to the media, they declared the safety of its primary food source for all time to come, the white bulldog. Thank goodness that the white bulldog may now roam Wisconsin once more. Alright, fine, it was a big hoax, and it was a really good one. Good enough that the local town decided to build a statue in honor of the beast. They also hold a festival in its name, which I've actually been to. But the effort that went into this hoax was actually quite extensive, and when Shepard had claimed to capture the creature, he even displayed it using a puppet show, piloting a wooden facsimile of the beast. Number 1. The Jersey Devil. Here's a real classic, the Jersey Devil, known for living in Jersey. Well, okay, taste and location aside, this creature is a sight to behold, a horse-like demon with bat wings and a forked tail. It was apparently born human, the 13th offspring of Mother Jane Leeds, who had cursed the unborn upon discovery of her pregnancy. Once born, the demon was revealed in all its horror, and gave everyone in the room a highly motivated beatdown before yeeting itself up and out the chimney. There have been sightings of this creature throughout history, one of the most notable viewers being Napoleon's brother. Seriously. This creature has also been reported to be capable of surviving direct cannon fire, and in 1909 there were a slew of sightings which set off a search for the fabled devil. A search which mostly ended in vain, even though there was a $10,000 reward that was promised for live capture. And of course, someone then tried to submit a kangaroo with fake claws and bat wings. Anyways, it's just another reason not to go to Jersey, and it's just about as good of one as any.